two sets of lawsuits going on, Washington and Massachusetts, right?
It's a really fascinating development. I mean, we've talked about legislation on the trafficking issue, state and federal. We've talked about kind of grassroots community awareness. I think there's a third really interesting front here which is emerging, which is civil litigation. There are two pending cases right now that have been filed against Backpage by multiple victims. They're all women in this scenario, but who were trafficked as young girls on Backpage for sex for an extended period of time. There's one case that's pending in the Washington State Supreme Court, and there's one case that was just filed in Massachusetts Federal Court. And both of these cases are very different. They definitely are trying to address the issues in the business practices at Backpage, and as Mrs. McCain noted, to not allow Backpage to hide behind the freedom of speech or what I would also refer to as the Communications Decency Act, which is a statute which generally protects internet service providers, but not allow them to hide behind that anymore.
I agree. One of the things that was mentioned to me from some people out in Arizona was, what about at least getting together with the credit card companies and working together to stop the use of credit cards on these websites that are specifically of sale of women and children. I mean, does that have any ability to go anywhere, or what's your opinion?
I think it's a tremendously powerful idea. I mean, they charge for these ads. We know that, and the credit card is the vehicle that they use to do that. In fairness, the credit card can also be used on other parts of the site. So, this is where some of these internet websites get very difficult when you're thinking about regulating or carving out the bad activity that's on them. But I think it's an idea that has a tremendous amount of potential.
One of the things that we were talking about backstage was she mentioned them hiding behind and kind of calling themselves the sheriff of the internet. They proposed to say that they check all of these purchase ads for age, for propriety, for that making sure that everything's in line, that all of these children are protected, and that they actually turn the information over to law enforcement. Now, I know that they turn some things over to you. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Backpage is one of the companies that does make voluntary reports to NCMEC. They're not under an obligation to do so. So they do make reports to us of ads that, for some reason, they believe has a connection to child sex trafficking. They typically don't provide us much more information than that. We of course will work that report as we would any other and make it available to law enforcement. But they do talk a lot about their moderation. How they have word searches and block certain words and block certain images and age and that sort of thing. But they don't have any age verification whatsoever on the website.
Yeah.
There's certain measures which they certainly could adopt to drastically diminish the amount of child sex trafficking on their site, and they have simply chosen not to.
Yeah, they've made a conscious decision not
Absolutely.
to. I mean, I believe that they should go the way of Craigslist and take it completely down. Not the whole website, but they take the sex ads completely off the site. But they're not listening to me. I don't understand. They're not listening. Listen, we've got a few minutes.